I sat down with CIA Director Mike Pompeo for an exclusive interview this afternoon. I started by asking him if Al-Qaeda is stronger or weaker today, 16 years after the 9/11 attacks.
Al-Qaeda itself, the senior leadership of Al-Qaeda today is weaker than it was 16 years ago. That is, the U.S. government and our allies have done really good work to take out their senior leaders. But the threat from radical Islamic terrorism remains, and whether it is ISIS or Ansar al-Sharia or any of the other couple of dozen groups that are out to do harm to America, that threat remains, and we as a nation must remain ever vigilant so that something like what happened 16 years ago today can never happen again. I'm reminded too, Brett, today is not only the 16th anniversary of the attacks in New York and Shanksville and Washington, but the 5th anniversary of two CIA officers being killed in Benghazi, Libya, along with a State Department official and Sean Smith. We have to remember that this is the enemy gets a choice about whether this is over, and today they've not concluded that they're defeated.
So the Al-Qaeda was really 16 years ago the big player. Now it seems like these splinter groups have multiplied and expanded around the globe.
I think that's a fair statement. I never want to underestimate Al-Qaeda itself. There are still senior leaders. Zawahiri is still around, so there's still some of the old guys from the bad old days who are out there intent. But lots of other places, lots of other folks with the common theme of a mission to execute jihad against the West in the United States.
And hunting those senior leaders has always been important. Is there a hunt on the way for Zawahiri and bin Laden's son?
Oh, yes, sir.
Daily?
Daily, every day. My team, even as we sit here, is working diligently to find them and bring them to justice.
Any positive signs?
If I were them, I'd count my days.
Obviously, Barack Obama ran for re-election on Al-Qaeda on the run or decimated, and he called ISIS JV. We talked about that before when you were Congressman.
Yes, I remember it.
Did the U.S. intelligence assessments support those claims as they were making them?
No. The U.S. estimate of ISIS has always been that they've posed a serious threat. It's never been the case that this was a second-tier threat. In fact, there have never been as many foreign fighters in any one place as there are in Syria, even yet today. Even in the heyday of Al-Qaeda, there weren't as many foreign fighters. So there's still a lot of work to do.
The territory is less for ISIS today, but the strength or its lethality is still similar?
No, its lethality is probably down. That is, its capacity to do a complex attack in the United States is diminished as a result of the pressure that we have put on them. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But, Brett, we see this around the world. We see it in Europe. The threat here in the United States of these localized actors who are inspired by or working alongside ISIS figures still remain.
We spent a lot of time on Special Report covering the cache of documents captured during the raid at Osama bin Laden in May of 2011. His National Security Advisor, Tom Donilon, said the intel would fill a small college library. It was a treasure trove, but the documents sat long stretches, virtually untouched, as different intel bureaucracies fought over control of access to them. DNI has so far released fewer than 600 of them. You have worked to have those documents released. When will the American people see them?
Very soon. Very soon, Brett, we will release all but there's some pornography, there's some copyrighted material, and everything other than those items will be released in the weeks ahead.
Everything from those documents?
Correct. I want to get these documents out once we are sure that there's not classified material and that there's not things that we can't release. I want to make sure the world gets to see them.
How would you describe Iran's relationship with Al-Qaeda?
Iran has always made a devil's bargain with Al-Qaeda to protect them in many ways, and that protection was often contingent on a deal, which said, if we protect you, you won't attack us here in Tehran.
Which is kind of a different how it was described in the Obama administration.
That's a characterization that I think the intelligence community has consistently held.
When you were Congressman Pompeo, I asked you about the Iran nuclear deal. Here's what you said. Is there anything, Congressman, that is good out of this deal?
Brett, I can't think of a thing.
Not one.
I can't think of a thing that has put America in a better position as a result of this deal.
Now the president has this decision whether to reauthorize the Iran nuclear deal. Do you have a different perspective today?
I do sit in a different place, and so my role is a bit different. This is what I would say. The President's made clear his view that he doesn't think the deal was worth a darn. That's not proprietary. He's tweeted it. Most of the members of the administration share that view as well. And then beyond the JCPOA, the missile tests, the activity of the Shia militias in Iraq, their work alongside Lebanese Hezbollah in Syria and in Lebanon, their malign activity all around the world has dramatically increased since this deal was struck.
How would you describe Iran's relationship with North Korea with respect to missile technology, nuclear fuel, weaponization?
Brett, I'd just prefer to stay out of the intelligence there.
Is there some relationship between the two?
Yeah. So this is fair to say. The North Koreans have a long history of being proliferators and sharing their knowledge, their technology, their capacities around the world. As North Korea continues to improve its ability to do longer range missiles and to put nuclear weapons on those missiles, it is very unlikely that if they get that capability that they wouldn't share it with lots of folks, and Iran would certainly be someone who'd be willing to pay them for it.
Do you feel confident you have a good window into the capabilities and intent of North Korea?
The capabilities, yes. The intent has just proven an incredibly difficult intelligence problem, Brett. We think we have an understanding. We think Kim Jong-un wants these weapons for protecting his regime and then ultimately the reunification of the peninsula. But there's still a lot that the intelligence community needs to learn.
Has China been doing more to rein in North Korea?
Yes, they've been doing more. But we know that there's still more that they could do. They account for roughly 80% of the hard currency trade with North Korea. I believe the Chinese know that they can do more, and I hope that they will come alongside us.
There's a lot that's been written about how President Trump operates inside that White House. You brief him. How does he get intel? What's his preferred method, and how does he react to it?
Brett, this is probably one of the biggest fallacies that has emerged from the storyline at the White House. I hear how the president doesn't like the intel community. I hear it all the time from, frankly, mostly folks in the media. My team knows it's completely different. When we've asked for more authority, we've been given it. When we've asked for more resources, we get it. The CIA director nearly every day is in the White House sharing with the president the truth as best we know it straight up. The president is attentive. He listens. I think we're usually scheduled for about 25 minutes. It usually goes well over that.
So he's questioning?
He's asking really hard questions. He'll say, Pompeo, I think that's not what you told me 3 weeks ago. Right? This is exactly the kind of consumer of intelligence that our agency loves.
So for all that's been written about the deep state, what's your thought as the head of one of the agencies that's said to be part of the deep state? And the leaks and everything else?
Well, the leaks are tragic, and they're wrong. They're not only unlawful, they're immoral. I'm working diligently inside of my building along with my senior leadership team to ensure that they're not coming from the people who work for the Central Intelligence Agency. My team understands its mission. Its mission is to tell the truth each and every day as best we know it.
So if you're asked the question, what keeps you up at night, is it a lot of things?
Yeah, it's a busy world. Look, I worry first and foremost about the threat from North Korea in the sense of we have a place that is now on the cusp of having a capacity we'd hope they'd never have, with a leader who makes decisions at the very least in a very, very tight circle in which we have limited access. But there's lots of things, Brett, that we're very focused on at CIA.
Mr. Director, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you, Brett.